So here's Ivanhoe Lights. My show kind of started coming down for me on its own. I had my matrix mounted up on this 2x4 that we frame that we made. Worked really good until we got it was 11 degrees and we had like 20-mile-an-hour wind, and it just cracked right off and cracked in half. So have to rethink that for next year. These are the 360 trees, and put a rebar into the ground with these trees. Then I had something different. I had extra pixels after the lights, and so I made these. The rebar just didn't go all the way. I didn't put it all the way in the ground, and so I put the lights up it, and it's kind of a neat effect. You can kind of do like a up the tree, light the star up, and then kind of take off from the star. This is a K8 that I have. I did wireless at first and was having kind of some problems. You can see the house is pretty decent distance, but I did put a wireless access point outside, but I still had some data issues. It may have been back down to the fact of one of my sequences was corrupt, and once I took that off, I got rid of all my problems. So the wireless maybe would have worked, but once I went to wired, just really no problems at all. I got the little adapters that go Ethernet into the mini USB, so I could still keep my USB adapter on there for the Wi-Fi. So I still have, I turn the Wi-Fi off, but I still have both connections if I wanted to. A little power supply sitting down the bottom, and then you can see that I had my Ethernet coming out. Well, not Ethernet, I'm sorry. The RJ45 for the smart differentials. I went to 6 smart differentials that were daisy chained, and then that was the 24 ports for my matrix. So K8 with 24 ports on the smart there are 6 smart differentials, giving me 24 ports total. And this is just a battery box. Next year, I'll probably be attaching the outlets to the side of the box somehow, because no one was around here, but if someone was, technically they tripped over a wire, maybe it would pull out of the smart differential. And then I had my hoops. I need the hoops come down into a T. They sit in a PVC T that goes across all the way, and then it came down and there's a leg that goes both ways. But I needed to get staples to probably hold the legs down. They did tip over a couple times, so I put the bricks in there, and then that stopped it. This is another smart differential. This one I took, which I'll probably end up doing with the other ones. I put the smart glands in it, and for RJ45, everything. I ran the hoops off of port 2, and those are all daisy chained. There's 4 of them. And then I had port 1 went out to some smart RGB lights, floodlights, that actually aimed at the cars. Only a couple of effects that I use those for. And that's off of this smart differential is running off of, actually this is an older style. This isn't the version 3 like the 6 were. So this one could only be 3, but I've got it mounted in there. Another power supply. Got an uplight. Those are 10-watt uplights. Next year I'm going to 30-watt uplights, and I think I'm going to mount them up higher into the trees. Another smart differential receiver powering those 3 lights that shine up into the trees. Had some lights. I had some extra lights and some extra J channel, and so I went up on top of the wall. Probably figure out a more permanent fixture for next year. My cable coming off my K16 for if I wanted audio outside. I didn't use it very much because I had the FM transmitter inside running from a Pi. This originally has, you can see this antenna, that's the boat antenna. that goes to the transmitter, the FM transmitter on the culp board. Not enough distance on it. You can see how far I'm from the house. I like that it had RDS on it, but it just wasn't quite there. So I ended up shutting that off and moving over to the Pi inside. That also ran on virtual matrix, and then that was the master. So this culp ended up being remote. You can see wired network in there. Just pushed into a green stake and mounted to the back there. And then the power supply for that. Ooh, that's stuck pretty hard. Sorry about that. It's just mounted onto the back. It's waterproof. There we go, a little extra slack. This is a network switch. Got an extra RJ45 in there in case needed one more. Got a couple more ports left over. And I have one more identical switch. That's just a really inexpensive switch. You can see this is a homemade star that we made. I originally had them just hanging by one screw at the top, the Tapcon screws. And the wind came and blew this thing off one time, so I came back and put another screw in it. And same with these homemade lollipops that we made. Same thing, I put another screw in at the bottom. Once I put the screw in at the bottom, really everything stopped moving, and it was nice. Window frames there, drilled 1/2-inch PVC, 12 millimeter step bit, 12 being the very biggest size on there, went all the way through, and then after that was done, went from the backside with just my hand drill and with a larger step bit and hit the back sides of all these holes. Worked really good. I love the picture frames. They took a long time to make, and while we were doing it, we were going, oh, is this really worth it? And then once you mount them up, they're just there, they don't move, and everything's good. So J channel matches the house up there. I still have to tuck the wires in. It was starting to get cold when we put all this stuff up, so we just kind of put it up, and it's been fine. Probably a couple extra screws I need to put in it. I know I do have a pixel or two up there. No big deal. About halfway through the season, I had one pixel that went in the garage and took out the rest of the line, so I had to solder in a new pixel up there. I was like, yeah, right there with those nice connections that make it really fast. I actually left an extra pixel up there. Attitude, I built the frame, put it into the buckets with the gravel in it, and that ended up not holding it. It actually tipped over one time when we had some probably 60 mile an hour winds. And so went back to the drawing board a little bit and got these magnets. I think I got them from Harbor Freight, and then came down with lines onto my PVC frame, which you can see there. And if I were to do this again, I built my frame comes in about at the middle of it. I would put my frame much higher where it mounts, so that it hangs instead of right now it's the weight is kind of strange on it. So again, I do that a little bit different, but that's what it's all about. This is a K4, hardwired. I love these battery boxes. I mean, they're nice and easy to get into. You just got to strap on the top of them, and boom. Same thing, hardwired, that adapter. I don't know how people film one-handed all the time. Okay, and then we had another star over here. This was a homemade star that we did. Here's another K4 in here. I'm not going to open up. It's the same exact as the other one. This is a little homemade star we did. Each year we keep saying that, we're not going to put that up. And then we put it up and really loved the effects. Just rebar pushed into the ground to hold it. We started out with these green landscape stakes. They're not strong enough. They bend, and in the wind, the thing was half bent over. So came in and pounded some rebar in, and it held. And then it has these little tails that I individually mapped and took out the part that goes vertical so that you don't see that. So it just looks like streamers coming from the, I call them tails, my wife calls them trails. And then added these spiral trees for this year. I didn't know after when I had ordered them that you needed a 3D piece, or 3D printed piece. And so I just stuck that green garden stake, it's the smaller of the two, like from Home Depot, and then just set the spiral tree on top of it, and it kind of comes through a little bit up there. But anyway, it works really good. They just stayed there, and I love the effects from them. The one thing that we did do, I'll back up here. The one thing that we did do is we spread the show out way too far for the size of our lot is 100 wide, and it's probably 150 to the house, and we spread it out way too far. Next year we'll be taking all of these spiral trees and the big star and trails, moving them over. The spiral tree is probably going to be going up there. I'm sorry, the big star and the trails will go up over there, and then the spiral trees, we're putting in a mega tree right in there, and then all this stuff will be moved back towards the house, adding a couple more hoops, a couple more effects on the house, and I think it'll really make a big difference. This is like 6,500 lights that we have, and it just wasn't what we wanted it. Just wasn't quite there. So that's my show. If you got any questions, feel free to ask.